market more than anything else, I think. You know, new and improved. Oh, gotta have it, gotta have it. New and improved, yeah. So I think they got it from Jeremiah. Not, but you know, at least it's a good idea. Okay. So, new and improved, that's what Jeremiah says. He says that God now has got the new covenant that God's going to give him. What was wrong with the old one, you say? Well, there was nothing wrong with the old one from God's side. God, it says, was just like a husband to his people. I'm waiting to see the reactions on the women's faces when I say that this morning. In other words, God was just like one who cherished his people. One who was always looking out for their need, for their happiness, for their safety. And it says God did all of this for them. He brought them out of Egypt, and when he brought them out of Egypt, what did he do? He gave them these rules on a stone tablet and said, here, take these with you, and if you follow these, then what will happen? You will find yourselves living the high life. It doesn't say it that way, but that's what it means. If you follow these, you will find life just hunky-dory, and everything's going to be A-okay. But it says they kind of blew it. That's the understatement of the year, isn't it? They kind of blew it. And so it says God needs a new way for us to find life. And so Jeremiah says, here's the new and improved, and here it is. This time, instead of writing it on the stone tablets, God's going to what? He's going to write it on our hearts. Let that sink in for you for just a minute. That God has written his way on our hearts. All of those commandments. You know, love the Lord your God with all your heart and soul and mind, and your neighbor is your strength. It's all stenciled right there on your heart. It's there. I am convinced that each and every one of us in our heart knows exactly the right thing to do on any given day about any given thing. Don't we? Don't we? In our heart, it's true. We know the right thing to do on any given day about any given thing. I'm convinced of that. But there's one problem. Remember last time you were going through the checkout at one of the stores, Walmart, grocery store, wherever, and you're going through, and the item rings up $8.95, and you say, whoa, wait a minute. The sign said $3.95. Oh no. There goes the 30-minute search for the sign that says $3.95. But lo and behold, they come back. After they've made the trip to the Amazon and back, they come back and they say, sure enough, you were right. The sign said $3.95. And so what do they do then? They hit that button on the cash register that's called the override button. Right? There's got to be one. They hit the override button, and then they type in that nice $3.95 price instead of $8.95, and you're like, ooh, I like this. Guess what? We've got one of those override buttons somewhere in our brains. So that, even though God has written on our hearts exactly what we need to know and exactly what we need to do, we find ourselves in times and places where we listen not to what's written on our hearts, but instead hit that override button and then kabloom. We find ourselves then saying and doing things and acting in ways that we ourselves said we would never, ever, ever, never do. Don't we? Yes. You know, this week we're working our way through the Lenten study as well, and some of you have been coming out and for the studies, and actually we've had quite a few, and that's great. And others of you took the books, and I hope you're reading along. And this week, one of the things that we're talking about is this very issue, because this week we find ourselves in that part of Jesus' death, or his road to his death, where he's been condemned by Pilate, and now he's over here, and he's with the Roman soldiers, and what's happening? They're literally tying him to a post, and they are scourging him. Now, a lot of people have heard that as they whipped him. That's not quite what they mean by that. This whip has braided into its leather ends all kinds of things like fish hooks, pieces of glass, pieces of shell, nails, anything anything they could think of, so that when you laid those lashes on the back of that person, it literally would just slice them open. And some ancient writers say slice them open so that you could see their muscles, even their internal organs. And here is Jesus, this simple, non-violent, never hurt a flea in his life person. And here's these big, powerful men called Roman soldiers. And there they are, inflicting upon this man more pain than any of us could ever imagine. And then not only inflicting that kind of physical pain upon him, but on top of that, mocking him. Ha ha ha, King of the Jews. Ha ha. Oh, I'm scared. Who are these guys? Who are these guys? Anybody else brave enough?